I'm Scott L. Miller. Welcome to my daily vlog of life in Leon, Nicaragua. And I got a question on the vlog today that was, how much is an acre of land in Nicaragua? And this is about the most loaded question that you're going to get ever. How much is an acre? How much is an acre anywhere, right? Answer that for any country. Nicaragua is a large country. I mean, it's small compared to a lot of places that you could go, but it is a pretty big plot of land. And so the prices of acres vary quite dramatically from place to place, as they would anywhere. So I'm going to do my best to answer this, but this is a really hard question. So keep that in mind, that it's an incredibly ambiguous question that really nobody anywhere can answer. So the easy answer is whatever they are somewhere else, they're less here. The prices are really, really low, especially on land, for a couple reasons. One is the current economy and real estate situation make the prices lower than normal. That's a given, and lower than most other countries, especially those in the region. Also a given. Coming up with hard numbers as to exactly what they are, pretty darn difficult. But unlike everyone else in the region, Nicaragua has a lower population density, so the need for the land, for the number of people that they have, is lower than most of the countries in the region, all the countries in the region, other than, like, you know, Canada. So there's a lot of open space. That means that there's a lot of land available for really, really cheap. Anytime you get tons of open space with not a lot of people, you're gonna get cheap land naturally. Of course, if you want to be downtown Leon like I am here, there's going to be places that are going to be more expensive because people really want to be close to downtown or close to the restaurants or out on the beach and the waterfront. There's only so many of those perfect spots. Spots where you can dive, spots where you can wade in, spots where you can surf. Those kinds of things are more limited. Still a lot of them, but they're more limited. So we have to consider all of those things when we're talking about the prices of an acre. And remember, an acre is very large. Most people don't need an acre. You might want an acre. I have an acre, right? But lots of people don't in normal life, and that's not a big deal. These kids are really insistent on being in the video with me, which is cute until they start making noise and zipping around behind me all the time. And then I have to start moving to get away from them, and they follow me yelling, which is a challenge. So, under normal circumstances, it is pretty easy to get an acre of land below a few $1,000s. If you're really willing to go out, you just want some land and you really don't care where it's going to be, then getting down into the many hundreds of dollars is probably quite doable. That's actually reasonable. Now, it's not going to be in a city and it's not going to be on the beach. You have to get away from those things, and it's probably not going to be some nice farmland. It's going to be something that's completely undeveloped, but that's okay. If you just want some open space, you have those options. But if you're looking for something along a main road, somewhere near a center of population, you're probably looking at $1,000 or $2,000 at least per acre, which is very affordable for just about anybody. In many situations, we generally give big round ballpark numbers that you're looking at spending as much as $5,000 an acre. But I can tell you, when I spent a little over $10,000 per acre in a beach community, I got a lot of flack that it was way too expensive, but there's reasons why I was willing to pay that, and it was a very special case, in my opinion, because I had a lot of mitigating factors that made it more expensive than just one. Another set of factors that you probably are not aware of is the way that land is licensed. So or deeded, I guess. In Nicaragua, unlike, well, probably like a lot of places, but unlike a lot of places that will be investing here, land comes in a couple different forms. There are traditional deeds. This is kind of the middle ground. There is leased land, such as in indigenous communities, where you can get a 99-year lease from the government, but you cannot own the land. Those are worth less, but they tend to be in prime spots. So they tend to cost more, but they are a discount compared to the same spot deeded. Then there is a real. That means it actually was given by the Spanish crown and supersedes the current government. Now, of course, the current government is the one that has to enforce that, but it means that this is traceable all the way back to the Spanish crown in colonial times. So a real is worth the most, both for bragging rights, of course. Oh, I own a bit of history, but also because it is the strongest ownership that one can have. So if you're going to find something that has a real, people will brag about it, and if you don't know what it is, you will not appreciate why you're going to be paying more for that. But there is legal and historic precedence for that being the most expensive type, so don't be surprised. So all those things are factors. If you're just getting a deeded plot out in the middle of nowhere, you can get dirt cheap. That's where the term dirt cheap comes from, by the way, how cheaply you can buy the dirt. And this is a good example of it, right? So hundreds of dollars getting into the 1 to 2,000 range. And certainly if you're looking to spend under $5,000, that's very doable. Now, if you're getting into like gated communities and you're buying plots within those communities, those are going to be below an acre, and those are going to be 5,000 and up for sure. I do know some communities have those, and people talk about, hey, it's a great deal. It's only $5,000 in a gated community to be able to get in with a plot. That is a good deal, I would say. Those are very controlled circumstances. They're worth a lot more per square foot. You can kind of extrapolate what an acre would be from there, but people who are looking for an acre are generally looking for open acres, not acres within a gated community, for obvious reasons. Given that small houses can sell for the 20s and 30s and 40s of thousands of dollars, obviously the land that they sit on has to be really cheap. So you have to kind of extrapolate from there. The situations are just so varied, it's almost impossible for me to give you a reasonable idea of what the land should cost. But I do know I've been places where people have tried to charge $20,000 or $30,000 an acre, and it's an absolute absurd amount of money, even in really prime locations, and you should just laugh at them and walk away. Right? Probably the absolute maximum you should really be looking at if you're buying an entire acre has got to be around $20,000. I'm sure there are exceptions, but that has got to be about the ceiling, and you're talking prime crazy real estate and at an acre size, right? Also worth mentioning, acres are not normally the measurement tool used here. Most of the time they use the manzana, which is about 1.7 acres. Don't just assume you know what a manzana is. Every country has its own measurement of manzana, unlike an acre, which is universal. So make sure you look up a Nicaragua manzana. If you know Costa Rican manzanas, they're similar, but they're not the same, so just be aware. So of places that are going to cost more, everyone knows the most expensive general location in the country is San Juan del Sur. That is the highest price. However, it is also, as far as we can tell, the most depressed right now. Absolute economic collapse, and from everything I've heard and seen firsthand, they are, unlike other areas of the country which went into an absolute rock bottom, bounced off of it a year ago and are now climbing, San Juan del Sur appears to still be in economic collapse. They are still losing. The businesses are doing worse and worse, and people are still bailing and trying to get out. So what I've been told by people who are house hunting down there, who have been here for a while and know the market, is that the houses are not selling. They're sitting on the market, and they continue to decrease in value over time, even over a year ago when we thought it was absurd just how cheap they had gotten. So be aware that even though they're the most expensive, they also had the farthest to fall, and they appear to still be falling. Of all places, it's probably the shakiest investment in the country because there's so much more volatility possible in that market compared to other places where they tend to be more stable just because of the way the local economies work. Other really expensive regions are going to include Granada. Granada is very expensive because of the large number of expats. It is not the largest city, so it doesn't have a lot of locals to buffer against the expat community as far as prices. It is an old colonial city, which gives it an automatic amount of value, and it is the main tourist center for the country. And it's an absolute beautiful city, right? So you put those things together, it's going to cost a lot more. Easily, you're going to see rents be as high as double in Granada what they are here in León, also a colonial city, also with tourist infrastructure, also with expats. But just, we're a much bigger city with many fewer expats. The combination means our prices are just way lower. So Granada is going to be expensive. Managua is a giant city, not truly enormous, but a large city, more than 1 million people, and because of that, it has its own neighborhoods that have very different pricing one from another. There are neighborhoods like Los Robles, Villa Fontana, and Bologna. All of those are very expensive. You could be looking at houses way into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they're beautiful neighborhoods with a lot to offer. You go into not dangerous areas, not bad areas, but totally different, less flashy areas, and you could be looking at pretty reasonable apartments renting in the $300 and $400 ranges. So Managua has the potential for you to live in the same kind of price ranges as a León, or a Granada, or a San Juan del Sur, all depending on the barrio that you're in. And of course, if you go into the real barrios in Managua, things are going to get really cheap, as they would anywhere. But generally, as an expat, you're not going to be looking at those areas. But maybe I don't want to turn you away from them. I live in a barrio in León. I own in a barrio in Las Piñitas. I would certainly consider a barrio in Managua if it had the right access to things, was in the right location for me. But most people, that is not what you're going to want to look at. You're going to be looking at gated communities or rural private areas, places that you can gate off or whatever on your own, probably not in a barrio. But it all depends on the person. There is a lot of variety here. So I just want to do my best to answer that question, because it's a really hard question to answer, and I don't know exactly what to say because it's just so varied. But I will keep an eye out, and as I see land in different situations, I will do my best to try to comment on it and find out pricing and kind of build up some amount of information. And one of my friends who watches this show does collect a lot of that information, so I did not have a chance to consult him before doing this episode. So I'm going to do a follow-up. Hopefully I want to talk to him and see if he has some information on kind of what you're going to see in acreage prices in different parts of the country, so we can kind of give you a ballpark of understanding to know what you should be considering or looking for or willing to pay. Because absolutely, you go online, you're going to find people listing for $100,000 an acre, no problem. You can find people who are willing to take any amount of your money, but they're unrealistic, and most of those places are not selling, right? When I was looking at, so I've lived here starting 7 years ago, but I've lived here continuously for a year and a half. And 2 years ago, when I was shopping for houses and lots from afar, I was going on YouTube and watching a lot of shows and seeing houses and seeing places that were listed and being like, wow, those seem like good deals. And now that I'm here, I'm like, wow, those are overinflated prices. And as I walk around communities that I know specific houses that are heavily advertised on YouTube with really well-known people advertising and pushing them, trying to get them sold. And there are some of them I can see every day, and I know that there's absolutely zero people going to look at them. The prices that they're asking are many times the market price. There's no hope that they are going to sell. It is completely unrealistic. It's not even an honest effort to try to sell them at those prices, right? Like, it's like, I have a bungalow in, rural Arizona. Oh, $1 million. No, it's worth $35,000, right? But if you give me $1 million, I will certainly sell it to you. Okay, I guess that's its list price, right? Stupid things. So there's a lot of that. So don't look online and think, oh, I can get an acre for $35,000. That must be a good deal because all these other ones are $60,000. It's all completely made up numbers. Nobody's actually paying that in country. That's absurd. Someday those prices may return or exist for the first time, but they certainly do not exist that way now. Things really are cheap. Do not pay a lot. It does not make sense. Thanks for joining me. Ask your questions below. Remember to like and subscribe. Share this with your friends. Tell people about the wonderful country of Nicaragua, and share this channel where they can come and learn more about it for themselves. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you all tomorrow.